Hey, what's going on? It's John, and it's time for the J-Mart Cast for Monday, August 23rd, 2021. Almost failed on that intro. How's it going, guys? How you doing? Thanks for tuning in, listening to the J-Mart Cast again. I'm actually recording this a couple days early. I'm recording it on Friday because on Monday I will be away at a cottage. Yes. And so I won't have the will or the capability to record a podcast. And I won't be on Sunday either because we'll be leaving on Saturday. And funny enough, I'll have to come back for a wedding on Sunday and then go back on Monday to the cottage. Excuse me. So unprofessional, leaving my phone on during a podcast. But yeah, it just so happened that we had originally planned around the wedding and booked the dates for a cottage to be on a different day. But of course, as all plans change, especially these days due to COVID and things, the dates had to be changed for the wedding. Of course, we don't fault the bride and groom for that. That's just an unfortunate circumstance, but we're definitely not going to miss the wedding. And in fact, I'm pretty stoked to go to the wedding, to have fun and normalize and just, have a good time. And also I'm pretty stoked about the gift that my wife and I got for the newlyweds. I won't spoil it here, but actually maybe I can because by the time this gets released, the wedding will be over. So maybe I'll do that, actually. As many of you who know me personally know that I love baking sourdough bread. So I'm going to basically try to, through my gift, force my friends into baking sourdough by giving them a Dutch oven. And also, besides the Dutch oven, I'm also giving them all the other kind of accessory things that are kind of required for making bread. Like there's a bread scraper. There's this funny thing called lam, which is basically like the razor blade attachment you use for cutting or scoring the top of the bread just before baking it. And so, but I looked into it. You can use the Dutch oven for many things, and they're vegetarian too. So I think you can make lots of delicious veggie stews with it, and I use mine a lot for caramelizing onions, and it's like the best thing for that. So I'm confident it's a good gift. And then what makes it even better is Carly and I made a sweet little video to go along with it, with us kind of like rather than buying a standard card, we kind of made a video of us kind of saying what we would have written down in the card. And then at the end of that, I also made like a little added video with like a tutorial on the most basic kind of sourdough bread you can make. And the video turned out okay. There's some like blurry parts, but it's mostly good. And I think it does a good job getting them started on the path. And even if at least they don't have to, if they're really keen, they can always look into YouTube and all the, tutorials that I had to go through to, figure out things on for myself. But if, this can at least cut out some of that work for them to start it out. And then if they have the curiosity for it, they can take a deep dive. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Just giving that gift, like I said, and also just going to the wedding, having a normal part of life back, seeing people. It's going to be a small wedding. It'll be like less than 50 people, which is, I guess, good. And it'll be outdoors too, an outdoor venue, which is nice too. So I think all the necessary precautions will be taken. Speaking of which, let's see. I have a list of things that I've written down that I want to talk about for today's episode. And so I guess I was just going to say how I talked about the wedding gift and spent all of yesterday editing the video. It's like a 5-minute video, and it takes like hours to edit. I still suck at that part of the process of like creating media, but getting better, and each time is a little bit higher quality and a little bit goes by a little faster. So it's consistency, I guess. Got to just keep on it. Let's see what else we got. Training. After today, after recording this, got to get back to the calisthenic park today and get another good workout in. I had a really sweet workout on Tuesday. It was a nice warm day, sunny day. Got out there. My voice cracked there a little bit. Sunny day. But yeah, I got out there, out in the sun. Got some good vitamin D. And all the other benefits of being out. And went to the park. Did a nice short little workout, 30 to 45 minutes. Just very basic, banged out pull-ups and dips. I would try to make it a different variation of each time around, just to try to work as many different muscles in different proportions as possible. And then kept it short. 3 sets. I think I just did 3 sets of 10 for 2 exercises. Did a little bit of stretching, and then it was great. So I got to get back to doing that today. Back at the calisthenic park, because it looks like another perfect day for just doing that again. Let's see. This funny thing. I guess not that funny, but this new book I've been. So I'm a big fan of Audible. I read books too, not as much as I listen to books on tape, and I have an Audible subscription that I use quite well. You get like a credit per month, and I usually use that up. Anyways, I've been going back to some old classics. So I've been reading Anna Karenina. It's this book, I think Tolstoy, yeah, right? Yeah, Tolstoy is the author. Old classic anyway. It's about this woman who's from Saint Petersburg, and on a trip to Moscow, some man like falls in love with her, and she's married, of course. Anyway, not that far into it, but there's a part where she's on the train from Moscow back to Saint Petersburg, and it reminded me that I've actually taken that train myself with my brother and my cousins. We had a little trip from Moscow to St. Petersburg for a few days where we did some sightseeing. But I did remember like being on that train. It's an overnight train that we took. We slept on the train. It was actually quite comfortable, but it was just a lot of fun you forget living in North America how fun taking trips on trains can be. Because trains are, I guess, less accessible here. It's more of roads, of course, with cars and flights. But of course, in Europe, trains were the first mode of travel that was used before, flight was invented. So yeah, they're more accessible there. But I had a lot of fun on that, and we actually, while we were on the train, we met some Russian people who were actually from the other side of Russia. Of course, we know Russia's like the largest kind of country by landmass, and like it's got the widest span from east to west, and they were basically from the outermost west region of the country, and Moscow and Saint Petersburg are definitely on the easternmost region. So they were far from home, and they were taking the same train as us, and I guess they were just looking to hang out with some people, and they knew some English, at least well enough to like communicate with me and my brother. And then of course my cousins could speak Russian to them, and so through this kind of broken Russian, through my broken Russian and their broken English, we were able to communicate, had a good time, had a few drinks as Russians do. And it was a great experience. Anyway, just that book reminded me of that, and I just thought of the good memories I had. Thought I'd share it, and I'd recommend taking that train if you have the chance. Yeah, what else did I do today? Or not today, this week? Well, I set up a Bitcoin node. I am finally 100% synchronized with the with the blockchain ever since its inception in 2009 or 2010, I think. 2010 is when it started. Yeah, those of you who know me know that I've been talking about Bitcoin quite a lot more recently. And so, of course, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I just got a Bitcoin node. It's not that expensive, but it's not cheap either. Basically, what it takes getting one is you get a processor. I bought this Raspberry Pi processor, and you hook that up with a memory drive. I have an SSD drive. It's a terabyte of memory, and you can basically upload the Bitcoin protocol onto the processor, and it will start to run it. And you can be a node. And once you're synchronized with the blockchain's quite big, actually, it turns out. So I had a terabyte of memory, and now half of that terabyte is already covered. I think close to 500 gigs is used up by the blockchain. But of course, it started in 2010 and it's 2021. So in 11 years, it's gotten there, and it's a pretty linear increase. So I have another basically 10 or so years before I have to worry about memory, but it's just interesting how. Anyways, I've got that set up. For those who don't know what Bitcoin is, what I'm talking about at all, it's a long topic that we'll get into over time, little by little. But I'll give a quick little brief introduction that might not even make sense until there's a lot more context. But it's decentralized money in a way similar to gold, but in digital form. And I think it's the way of the future, similar to how the internet is kind of the way of the future. People didn't, of course, see that in the early 90s when it was first coming around, until it was obvious in the 2000s. And then this is kind of in a similar state where, although I think it's pretty obvious now, it went from valued at like a cent to now at this point, over 40,000 per Bitcoin. So anyways, I'll leave that at that. But I guess the other thing related to Bitcoin I wanted to talk about real quick was that Carly and I are looking at doing a vacation, possibly going on vacation to El Salvador, of all places. Well, why would you want to go to El Salvador, John? It's that's a weird place to go. What are you thinking? I've heard the crime rate there has been bad for years, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course, we're a fear-driven society, always worried about the worst-case outcome, and it makes sense because, when things go wrong, the people who worried are likely the people who made it because they made some plans to, overcome whatever they were worried about. But anyways, I want to go to El Salvador because that country is the first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. And so now they can use that as money rather than property. Here in North America and Canada and the US, it's viewed as property rather than a money or a currency. So when you use it, there's they put capital gains taxes on it and things like that. It's not ideal for using it as a currency currently. But anyways, in El Salvador it is. And turns out El Salvador has a really beautiful beach coastline. Didn't mean to diminish the coastline into a single beach, just a beautiful coastline along the Pacific. And we do have direct flights going from Toronto to San Salvador, the capital. And the coastline is less than an hour away. And there's actually a place in El Salvador along the coastline called Bitcoin Beach. It's actually called El Zonte in El Salvador. And colloquially, people call it Bitcoin Beach because it's the adoption rate there is higher than anywhere else. And so, yeah, you can go and support the community, I guess, be part of this like early movement of people, I don't know, taking matters into their own hands and being sovereign people. And yeah, so, and not to mention the fact, like I said, the coastline is beautiful. It's like beautiful beaches. It's perfect for surfing, apparently. It's one of these less discovered um, surf places. And yeah, so it's a win-win. It's from what I can see. So definitely excited about that. And so, of course, if I'm talking about travel, I don't know if you guys saw this. Just saw this, I think, either yesterday or 2 days ago. Our beloved Prime Minister Trudeau was asked if people who are not vaccinated will be allowed to take flights or trains in Canada, and he unequivocally said no, they will not. And I so disagree with that sentiment by the Prime Minister and anyone else who shares it. I don't want to get into it too much, but I mean, if I'm talking about taking a vacation myself, what that reveals is that, of course, that I'm vaccinated, because according to the Prime Minister, I wouldn't be allowed to get on a flight to go and take my vacation otherwise. But so yeah, because of that, because I saw that happening, I did get vaccinated on Monday. I waited a while, yes. John, why did you wait so long? Why are you such a bad person? I thought like you care about health. Don't you care about your community, your society? I do, I really do. And that's partly why I got the vaccine. But in truth, I got the vaccine because I wanted to make my wife happy, and part of making my wife happy would be also going on this vacation. And selfishly, I also want to go on this vacation. So I decided to get the vaccine, and yeah, it was no big deal. I got it. John, why did you resist getting it for so long? What's wrong with you? Why aren't you a good person? It seems like this is the narrative around people who are not vaccinated. And I think it's not true. I think it's the wrong way to look at it. What do I want to say about this? What I want to say is I'm against making the vaccine mandatory. I didn't want to get it myself personally, but I also wanted to do what's right for everyone, to make sure that I'm like safe around other people and all that. You know, I think it's wrong to separate our society into kind of these two groups of the vaccinated and unvaccinated. There are many reasons why someone would not or could not be vaccinated. And by limiting those people in what they're allowed to do and what part of society they're allowed to participate in, we're doing our whole society a disservice. My stance is that the individual is the basic functional unit of society. And when we do something or anything to diminish that person, that individual in any way, the society will ultimately pay the price. The individual too will, of course, too, but anyways, I don't think I need to defend myself in that stance. That is my opinion. However, like I said, I wanted to make my wife happier. She's a medical doctor. She's in support of the vaccine, and I trust her opinion. And so I decided to go ahead with it. And also, like I said, selfishly, because I want to go on a vacation. And if I'm gonna be prohibited from doing so, even if I were healthy and had a negative COVID test. You know, I'm gonna be coerced. Can I say that? Coerced into taking the vaccine to do what I think I should be allowed to do it anyway. Go take my vacation and enjoy time with my family as a healthy person. Yeah. Well, anyway, I leave it at that for now. And then one thing I wanted to do is, the facts of life. I just kind of made that up at the time from the first episode, and kind of liked it. So I'm going to bring it back. Hashtag facts of life. Everybody choose food. Yeah, everybody choose food, right? Not like everybody choose differently, but some people chew less, some people chew more. Some people chew with their mouths open, some people chew with their mouths closed. Yeah, what do we think about that? Write me back. What do you think about people who don't chew food or chew with their mouths open? Should we look down upon them, or should we accept them into society? Should we separate our society into those categories? Just put labels on everyone? Anyways, just moving on from that, I wanted to share a couple more things from my Insta kind of chats with people. By the way, follow me on Instagram at jmartfit, jmartfit. I post a lot of fitness, health related stuff. A lot of clips from my other podcast about health called State of Health. Some tutorials and things like that on exercises too. So just check it out. But I post a lot of health stuff, and people react to it, of course, and respond to certain things. So it's kind of fun to share this. I'm not going to share like personal stuff about people, but just kind of people's reactions. So one thing I shared recently, and I think this is a really good example of how to interact with people when you don't necessarily see eye to eye. So I posted this, or reposted somebody else's post on my stories about how the title was "You're Not Boring If You Prefer," and there are like 3 things. First one was eating real food over junk food, drinking water over alcohol or soft drinks, and then the last one was your circadian rhythm over party nights. So 3 things that I think are very relevant to health, right? What you eat, what you drink, and kind of how you sleep, basically. 3 of the most important things, really. So I quite resonated with this post, so I thought it made a lot of sense to post this. And then my tag on it was, doesn't have to be 100% perfect either, because like these are ideals, and we have ideals because we want to strive for them, but they're really impossible to maintain all the time, right? Like you can't, especially in this like world that we live in, eating real food 100% of the time is just not feasible. Like you're constantly surrounded by all these like food products, chips, soft drinks, all these things, right? Like, so you just got to do the best you can. So I posted that, and then with each one there's like a picture associated. So for the eat real food, there's a picture of like a nicely grilled steak. And then for like eating real food over junk food, the picture for junk food is just basically a burger from McDonald's with fries and Coke in the back. So that was the thing that I posted. And then I won't explain or describe the other graphics, because what the person's response to me was related to that first one was in response to the nicely grilled steak image. So this person responded to, yes, real food, but the image author really ought to have anything but steak as a suggestion. And then he's got a facepalm emoji, which I like. Yeah, we do need to use the facepalm emoji more often just for like comedic breaks. Then he goes on to say, beef is absolutely horrible. Horrible spelled with like multiple R's to, emphasize horrible. Maybe he's trying to roll his R's like a Spanish person. Horrible is absolutely horrible for the environment. And if they turned on the news, they'd see that effects of climate change popping up literally everywhere. Time to get serious about this shit so we can leave a better planet for our children. And so that last sentence, for sure, I agree with that. But a blanket statement like beef is absolutely horrible for the environment, I cannot stand behind. I think like it's one of these topics that people see as black or white, but is like very nuanced. I talked about this in the last episode, right? Like people point to beef with the methane being like a stronger greenhouse gas, pointing to that as to why beef is bad for the environment, but how, that's not necessarily a truthful way of looking at things, because if you look at the full carbon cycle, the impact of methane is quite a bit less than carbon dioxide because it breaks down quite a lot sooner, and ultimately it's constantly cycling compared to the fossil fuels, which are being released from something where they were not cycling, they were stored, right? And so, yeah, climate change is popping up everywhere, but fossil fuels, those are the things that are leading to climate change. So anyway, my response to him was like, what makes beef horrible for the environment, ? I sent him my little thing about methane, just a post about it. I didn't say anything else, but I did say, is it greenhouse gases you're worried about? And then I said, there's a lot of propaganda against beef to put the blame on something other than fossil fuels. The book Sacred Cow does a good job of providing a different perspective on the matter if you're interested. And then I thought, give it a minute. I still wanted to validate him in a way where I wanted to like be on the same side as him and find a commonality between us. And most people agree that factory farming is really one of the big culprits of what makes meat consumption not so good. So that's kind of like the bone I wanted to throw to him. So I said, but yes, factory farming is not good and has a lot of problems. My wife and I do not purchase meat from the grocery store 90% of the time. We usually buy a whole animal from a local farm which has really good farming practices and does not send the cow to a feedlot prior to harvesting. Then I finished, there's nuance in everything, of course. And so I want to agree with people as much as possible, but also figure out the nuance in everything as well, because blanket things across the board are never the best way. And this, taking it back to the vaccine, just vaccinating everyone straight across the board is not the answer, in my opinion, because one solution straight across the board for everybody is never the right way to approach any problem for any medical disease. It's just simply not. Different people have different situations, and you need personalized medicine. This was like the words that people were touting right before the pandemic as like the next generation of medical care is personalized medicine. And now we're just going towards just blanket, everybody must be vaccinated or else. And same thing with meat. Meat is bad straight across the board, no matter what. It's bad for the environment. That is not true. But anyways, by trying to find like the common ground with this person, I'm hoping to be able to help him find a nuance as well with me. Anyway, so they responded back saying greenhouse gas is definitely part of it, but not the whole picture. He goes on to say, fundamentally raising cattle in the quantities that we do is catastrophic to the environment. It's hard to imagine a less efficient way to produce food. This is a great high-level summary by Vox that I think captures the impact over and above greenhouse gases if you're curious. He sent me a little link to a YouTube video from Vox. So I'm definitely going to check that out. Thanks for sharing that with me. Like, interacting with a person like this is actually so nice because he's never insulting me. He's accepting my viewpoints and acknowledging them while also like sharing his opinion in like a really collaborative way where like I'm much more likely to hear out his point of view and change my mind. And then I'm hoping that that interaction also is the same in him. He would be this. What's the word for that? He would reciprocate. There we go. It's reciprocal. And then, but I mean, it's still, I feel like he's very black or white in saying fundamentally raising cattle in the quantities that we do is catastrophic for the environment. I don't know if it's the quantities, it's the amount, maybe it's how we do it. Maybe if the practices are changed. There's debate to be had here, I think. And just to kind of say that unequivocally is a little short-sighted, let's just say. Anyways, he goes on to say, avoiding factoring farming meat is a good step for sure, but still 95% of all animal products sold in North America come from factory farms. So even if people like yourself are seeking to do better, it's a drop in the bucket against our addiction to cheap meat. Yes, I don't dispute what you say, but all I can do is what I'm doing, right? Is I'm changing my behavior and trying to lead by example and talk about it. And if other people want to do it, great. If not, fine. Next thing he said, anyway, I'm not some preachy plant-based guy. My only point for the author of this image was that presenting beef as the paragon of real food might send the wrong message to a bunch of people who don't know any better. Ultimately, I don't think there's a future ahead of us where people are cutting out beef, but I think sourcing and consuming it responsibly is within our reach. So I think he had kind of like a similar thought to me where he presented his point, but then he wanted to find some common ground with me and then kind of presented that follow-up, which is really nice. And I really appreciate interacting like this. If people want to keep doing that, please keep sending your messages my way, either at jmartfit on Instagram. I just actually got Twitter too, so find me on Twitter at jmartfit as well. Or you can send me an email, newsletter at jmartfit.com is where that goes. But yeah, thank you so much to this person for like being so open-minded and like presenting your ideas in a way where you're much more likely to have someone listen to you rather than pointing out how stupid I am or how what I'm saying is wrong or a lie. But yeah, so my response to him after all of that was that I'll check out the video, the Vox video. Thanks for sharing. And then again, I wanted to find some common ground with him. So I said, I get your concerns about unsustainable farming practices. I have the same concerns, but I think it applies across the board to all farming. Yeah, monocrop agriculture is no savior of the environment, right? Like, we blame factory farming for animals, but we're basically doing factory farming for plants as well with monocrop agriculture. So anyways, and then follow up to that was the post wasn't really meant for vegetarians. It's for people who mostly go out and get processed food instead of cooking something themselves. Perhaps the image should have had a side dish of veggies to make a better point. But it's not like steak isn't real food. It's one of the most nutrient-dense things one can consume to better their health. And I fully stand behind that statement. I think, what is he? Oh yeah. Then I went on to say, meat consumption is part of being human from an evolutionary perspective. However, one does not need a shitty burger bun, a side of fries, and a sugar-sweetened beverage to go with the beef. And then my last follow-up was, since we're doing YouTube shares, I sent him a video called How Joel Salatin's Farming Style Can Feed the World. And hopefully I was as nice to him in kind of this interaction as I perceived him to be towards me. And he responded with, "We'll check it out." And then with a joke, but let's be real, French fries equals, and then heart emoji. I'll happily shave off a year of my health span for occasional plate of fries. LOL. And he's absolutely right. I do love French fries too. Some of the time. And I sorry to keep going on like this back and forth and kind of sharing the whole conversation, but I really think there's some value in this, because what then the conversation turned into is he didn't reject what I was saying, so he thought there was more value in what I'm saying, so he probed for more questions, which is really interesting. Because when he said the joke about the French fries, I responded with saying, I actually don't have anything against fried food, especially fries, because I love them. It's the oil in which they're fried that's the big issue. That's my opinion. I said, not a big fan of seed oils, soybean, canola, corn, sunflower, safflower, cottonseed. All should be avoided at all costs, in my opinion. You'll notice too that it's very hard to find any packaged food without one of those in the ingredient list. And so having said that, he's like, okay, this guy, he probably knows of something that I don't know. Let me ask him some more questions. So his response is, I have noticed that. What's your take on olive oil? So there you go. He's taking note of my presenting to some new information for him, and how that's possibly valuable, and asking the right questions, things that he's truly interested in. So my response was, I like cold pressed olive oil. I do avoid using it for high heat cooking, as it gets oxidized in these conditions. For vegetarian options, coconut oil and palm oil are the best choices for cooking above 400 degrees, in my opinion. The issue with palm oil is most of it is produced unsustainably by cutting down rainforest. I personally make my own tallow from the fat of the whole cow we order for my high temperature cooking needs. Yeah, hopefully, and yeah, he was thankful of that for that response. Anyways, I'll end that one there. But there you go, an example of how to have a conversation with somebody who you disagree with in a way where you're both better off at the end of the conversation, instead of like hating each other more. I hope to have many more like that with as many people as I can. Yeah, all right, I'm approaching 40 minutes here. I think I'm going to cut it off near 40 minutes, because it's long enough. I've ranted long enough. Hopefully there have been a few funny moments to make it worthwhile to listen and want to come back and listen some more. If you, like I said, want to get in touch, either connect with me on Instagram or Twitter. I'm new to Twitter, but I'm liking it. At jmartfit for both of those, JMartFit. Perfect timing, actually. My wife's just got home, so I'm gonna end it off here. So take it easy, everybody. J-Mart out.